I just wanted to say thank you to Heather, who has agreed to join us today. So her daughter Emily just went through the program, and if I was looking at our notes or at my notes, Emily was 7 for most of the program. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, she was
She's 8 now, but she was 7 for most of it.
8, like the last month that we were in
Okay,
the program. So
perfect.
old.
Perfect. But, one of the reasons that I asked Heather if she would be willing to share is that her daughter has made just one of the most beautiful transformations in just a couple of months. And it's just so amazing that I know she's going to inspire you with her story. And so maybe we'll just start with a quick overview of the data so that they know exactly like what we're talking about and how cool it is that but when Emily started, she was really struggling to hear sounds and have that be a consistently accurate thing. So it looked like, she had 13 errors and she was 69% accurate with those things. A couple of months later, by the time she got done with the program, she was 100% accurate and no longer struggling with that at all. Reading went from the 61st percentile to the 99th on the wide range achievement test. Spelling went from the 53rd to the 97th. She had an additional 12 items that were all phonetically correct, where, like these were hard words. And she had all of the sounds there,
Yeah.
which, had she had those, that would have put her at the 99th percentile for that too. But I think more than the numbers, like these are humans and real lives of people and how things have shifted. And so I think it's very valuable to hear from the family to say, this is what life really looked like for us before, and this is what life really looks like for us now, because it just brings hope and inspiration to so many people. So thank you, Heather, for being here. Would you mind just kind of kicking us off with a little bit of background about Emily's story?
Sure, sure. So I really started noticing a difference in kindergarten, and I was
Okay.
in um, several times a week with her teacher. We would go back and forth. We had a lot of homework in kindergarten. We are in an advanced program at school. Um, but she was just starting to show signs of anxiety. And, I thought, geez, when I was in kindergarten, I wasn't experiencing any of this. And so then we went into first grade. Her kindergarten teacher said, make sure that, you're on top of this in first grade, because I don't want her to be left behind. She was very shy and could not, well, I don't want to say could not, just would not advocate for herself. So throughout first grade, I was again in constant contact with her teachers, and um, it, it it was a struggle. We had a lot of tears at night doing homework. We were doing probably about 2 hours of work every night, and I talked to her teachers about it, and they said, "Oh, well, it shouldn't be taking her this long, but she seems happy and she seems, okay in school, and she has friends and she's doing okay." Um, but at night and getting ready in the morning, we were experiencing stomach aches, and she would cry, and she would, she had separation anxiety. She couldn't sleep at night. She was just constantly on edge about school. Um, so I talked to them because she was doing okay in math, but reading was where the struggle was. Um, so her B's and D's, she would get so upset because on spelling test she would get something wrong, but in her mind it was right. And she would come home a spelling test and she would cry because she said, "I'm spelling it right." And I said, "Well, say it out loud for me." And she would say it correctly, but her letters were backwards and she would get marked wrong. So in her mind, she was like, "I'm doing everything right, and still it's not good enough." So towards the end of the school year, again, we talked to her educators. We talked about a 504 plan. We talked about all kinds of different things. Um, I talked to her pediatrician, and he just said, no, it's probably just ADHD. You may want to get her a psychoeducational evaluation. Um, I did not feel that she had ADHD. If she did, that was okay with me, but I just wanted to get to the bottom of what the issue was. Um, so we did the evaluation, and it came back that she was dyslexic, with a working memory issue, and very low processing speeds as well. So we did incorporate different, longer time on tests, and but I knew that there had to be another tool out there that I could give to her. um I wanted to be an advocate for her, um because no one else was going to be. So I started searching out programs, and that's where you came in. And it's been wonderful to see the transformation in Emily, in our entire household. It's been amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that. And I think I want to just touch on a couple of things that you mentioned because I think that they are really common for people. And, mama's intuition is often doubted sometimes. Like, you know that there's something going on, and maybe you can't put your finger on it right in the moment, but so many times, whether it's like a well meaning teacher or a pediatrician or somebody in your sphere is kind of saying like, oh, everything's fine, they'll just grow out of it, everything's fine. But I cannot tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of families we've had say the exact same thing. And I think what's true is that there's still a long way to go in terms of people's understanding of what dyslexia really is and what it really looks like. So until people really start to shift in terms of what they know and how they can, diagnose and advocate, oftentimes your mama intuition is right on the money. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. And also just, your advocacy, because you're right when you say that when you see the tears and when you see the struggles over and over again, there isn't anybody that carries that weight more than the family, like you hurt when your baby hurts. And so it is very powerful for everybody when those things are happening. And so I completely appreciate that you shared that as well. So let's transition and talk about the good stuff because there's so much good stuff. You can just open this up to whatever you feel comfortable sharing, Heather, but like what do things look like for Emily now? What are some of the things that you've noticed that have shifted for her?
Well, first of all, probably the biggest celebration that I had, came in the form of she did testing, at the beginning of the school year, and she had low test scores. And so they gave her a stretch goal of 22 points by the end of the entire year. Um, so, middle of the way through the year, she came home and she was so proud of herself. We did a dance, we had ice cream, we had a good time, celebrating this win. So she had, from starting the program, to middle of the year testing, which was about a month and a half, she grew 45 points on her her state testing, which overall her teachers had only said for the whole year we want you to grow 22 points. So I mean, everybody, the school was celebrating. We were at home, but the confidence that gave her, um, has just been amazing. Um, her teachers are saying, like, by the end of the year, they were saying she's advocating for herself. She's wanting to read. Last summer, she was afraid to do a summer reading program. It's something that our school does. And then before school starts, they have a little celebration. Last year, she didn't want to do it. She was too afraid. This year, she just completed her third book last night.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And she's so excited about it. She's very
Wow.
excited. So it's fun to see. She'll pick up a book. She got a new book the other day and she was reading it in the car. Which
So cool.
she never would
Yeah.
would have done that. But the sleep issues that there's been, I mean, we still struggle a little bit here and there if there's a thunderstorm. But overall, we're not having the stomach ache. She's not crying and she's not having the separation anxiety that she once did. I didn't know how much all of this was. I knew it was affecting her, but I didn't know to the extent. I just thought we were dealing with several different issues, and this has really, really changed our day-to-day routines.
I thank you for bringing that up because I think it is, whether it's like, oh, that's just girls, or that's
Yeah.
just those things are not to be assumed. And I really appreciate you saying that when we get to the root of it and we address what was really bothering her. And so whether that was not feeling like she could be the same as her peers, or not feeling like she was able to do what was asked of her. And sometimes, kids want to do what your teacher asked you to do. And if you can't do it, you feel really bad about that. And so I think it's so beautiful to see the shift in how she feels mentally and socially. I think, yeah.
And just the excitement for school. On the last day of school, um, she was bummed. She said, I'm gonna miss school. I wish that I could have my teacher all year round. And, she's bringing schoolwork to me even during the summer and say, well, I want to try this. I want to read this. I want to do these math problems. And, even
Wonderful.
the day after school ended, she said, well, I can't wait to start next year. I mean, she is she's ready. She's here for it. And last year, that was not the case. So
Wow, what a beautiful shift for her.
it's fun to see. It's
I bet it is.
have that excitement because that's what I want for her. It may not all be perfect still.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
still are working on things, but the transformation so far um,
yeah.
has been beautiful to see.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, so thank you for that. And may I ask, like, when you think about the journey of, just starting to see some of the symptoms to where you are now, inevitably, like, you learned so many things along this path. Are there things that you have learned on this journey that you think would be beneficial for somebody else to know about? Like, what are some of your big insights from having gone through this whole journey?
Well, I think you touched on it before. It's to trust your gut. Um, and that just, if you feel like it's not right, there will be a program out there that will work for you. I know that with us, we were putting in the time.
Yeah,
It wasn't about that we weren't I mean, I
of
felt
course.
spinning our wheels.
Mhm.
Um, and we just weren't getting anywhere.
Yeah,
But I feel like this program really gave us the tools that we needed because we were willing to do the
I
and
totally hear you.
that's really important to know. You have to be willing to put in
Mhm.
time, the
Yep,
work to do it. You keep a positive attitude about it. It's not always going to be perfect,
yep,
And that was a big thing with my daughter. I had to, say to Emily, it's okay to make mistakes as long as we're learning from those mistakes on this journey. It's okay. It doesn't always have to be perfect. um, because she is a little bit of a perfectionist as well. Um, but as long as we make those mistakes and we keep moving and we're learning, um, we'll get there, and we'll do it together. So I think that was a big thing. I also think that I learned a lot about myself through this journey.
Amazing.
Again, I always tried to be very positive and uplifting for her and there to support her, but I realized I needed support too. And this program gave me that, gave me support from other moms, from you. I felt like I was heard. Um, Before I had this gut feeling that it just something was off. Um, and I was just told, it's okay, just wait until she gets to second grade, or we'll do small group with her, or you need to do tutoring. And we did all of those things. Um, and I felt like I was working overtime. Um, and it wasn't paying off. So I really think that it's important to listen to your gut and, like I said, just be a huge advocate. And there is a program that will fit out there and work for every child. I'm sure of it.
Thank you for that. I mean, right on, Heather. And one of the things that you said really caused me to think about how important a mindset is at that moment where you have to decide, like, okay, we've tried 5 things. We've tried, like, I'm putting in the time, as you said, I'm putting in the effort, and we're still not seeing the results. And so I think that it can be common for people to just kind of throw up their hands and accept that this is just the way that it's going to be. Maybe this child's never going to make it to this, or maybe they're never going to go to college, or, like you start to kind of rationalize with yourself and make concessions that you really don't want to make. But there is a mindset that you have to have, which is like, yeah, I get it. We've done all these things, but we still don't have the result. So, will you talk to me about like how you had to mentally prepare yourself to say, yeah, we might have tried tutoring and yep, we are putting in the time, but like we don't have the result yet. Like what was going through your head when you were trying to decide what to do for Emily?
Um, so I guess it's just my part of my nature of yeah. My son was born prematurely and he had different surgeries throughout the first couple of years of his life. And with those surgeries, I treated it, like, okay, well, the surgeon is telling me this, but I'm going to research this. I'm going to research surgeons. I'm going to do everything that I can in my power to make sure that this is right for him, for our family, for his needs. Um, and so I really kind of stepped back and I'm like, okay, his surgeries were something physical that we had to get taken care of. But I couldn't see it. So I really had to treat it just like the research that I had done with my son, but just in a different form and fashion. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like I, again, I scoured the internet. I looked and looked and looked. And I've told you before, I am not a Facebook person. I don't have Facebook. I'm not social media. And my mom actually, she knew the research, the extensive research I was doing. And she brought me the program and she said, this might be something you might want to check out. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. It's, Facebook
Yep.
media. I'm not doing that. But then once I really started doing the research, I thought, this could work for our family. I want to talk to this doctor. I want to talk to Dr. And you were so gracious. You talked me through everything, and I think that I've told you how much I appreciate that, but uh, I'll just say it till I'm blue in the face. I really, really appreciate all of your support. You're listening to me and saying like, we can get her where your goals are, where you think that she is capable of being. We can do that as a team, and we can do it together. So it was just nice to finally be heard, I guess.
Thank you for sharing that. It was a great experience for me too. But, I think it's true, Heather, that not everybody is able to take on that mentality and that it feels hard, and it is. It is. I mean, we would be silly to say that it's easy every day, but,
But
it
we just set aside a time every day. And I sat Emily down and I said, listen, your brain just it sees reading a little bit different than maybe how someone in your class
mhm,
reading. So we're going to figure this out for how it works for your brain. And we're going to get you there. We're going to get you reading, but we're going to devote a little bit of time every night.
mm,
And with that mentality and just setting her up for that success to know, okay, well, this is the schedule. This is what we're going to do. We just plug it into our daily routine. We were already doing homework. We were already, committed. Um, she actually, she loved the games. Um,
love it.
she would come to me and say, well, why aren't we doing games yet? Or if I would say, well, we're going to do them a little bit earlier tonight. And she was, no, I like to do it on my routine. She was very organized about when she wanted to do it. And I was like, well, if we're doing it, that's fine. Um, so I do think that I have to give my hats off to her too, because
Yes.
she put in the time, she put in the
Yep,
work.
yep,
And for a 7-year-old,
yep,
that was huge. But I think that she felt, you know, yes, this is working. I am understanding. Um,
mhm,
and one of the things I figured out through the program too, like what I realized is I was kind of overcompensating for her at times. Um, she she got to where she was reading my lips when she wasn't able to sound out a word, and I would say, it's okay, let's just sound out a word. She couldn't sound out a word, which I didn't realize prior to the program. I mean, I knew it, but I hadn't. Again, I was just kind of like, okay, well, let's just do it together. I didn't realize she was incapable of doing
mhm,
that. Um,
mhm,
and it's not that she didn't know her ABCs. It's not that she
right,
sounds of every letter, because she did,
right,
couldn't put it all together. Um, and so that was even a learning process for me throughout the program to see like, okay, well, she's watching what what I'm doing or what I'm saying, and she's reading my lips, when we're reading. Um, so it was interesting to see how she was compensating
mhm.
for just not being able to do some of those tasks that were basic.
Mhm, and, we want to help, and so sometimes we don't always realize how much we're helping or how much, we're kinda giving the answers or those things too, so yes, absolutely, that's a huge, huge celebration to notice that and not to need that anymore. I mean, the fact that she's able to move beyond that and she's independent with those things is a gift for you too.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fact we're not struggling to for her to want to do her homework or to be so upset. You just don't want to see your child go through that and suffer like that.
no
Um,
way.
I would much rather be doing games and having fun and spending that quality time with her.
Yeah,
versus feeling like,
Tears and mhm,
yeah, tears and forcing her, well, we got to get this homework done.
yep,
Because you have to turn it in. And,
yep,
it was just making her not feel capable. Um,
totally.
and that just, it hurt my heart for her. But ultimately, I think that we are past that. Um, and it's great to see her want to do all of these things.
I love it. I love it. Well, Heather, I want to just thank you for inspiring others because it's true. I mean, sometimes when you're in the middle of it and you feel like you're on the hamster wheel, like you said, like we keep doing the same thing over and over and we're not really moving, it can be really hard. And those days are a challenge not only for your child, but for you as a parent. And so to know that hope exists, that there are real people that have had a transformational result to grow leaps and bounds in data. I mean, she made huge growth in every single area. I mean, she just did amazing.
We're just like, what are you doing? What is going on at home? And um I was very transparent with them on, we're working on this part of the brain right now, and we're trying to do this. So she may not, at this stage, she may be spelling it correct, or she might not be spelling it correctly, but she's spelling it to where she hears it.
Mhm.
um and they were really supportive. So
That's awesome.
hats off to our teachers too,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
because they made a huge difference in giving her that support as well.
That's amazing.
She was going through this program, and give her a little bit of grace.
That's amazing. And I'm super grateful that you guys had that positive experience. Not everybody has this super amazing relationship and partnership that you guys had. So I'm grateful that you did have that. I know you celebrated that often.
Yeah, absolutely. We were very appreciative of our school and our teachers.
That's amazing. So awesome. Well, Heather, I want to just say thank you to you. You did an amazing job. It was
Thank you.
completely evident the commitment that you have to your daughter and that you continued to have throughout the entire program. You did an amazing job of being positive, of creating this loving space for her to thrive, helping her to make mistakes, helping her to grow, and it shows. So I'm grateful to you for being here to uplift so many others who likely needed it on those tough days. And so thank you. And congratulations to Emily too for the amazing work that she's done.
Thank you. We
Yep.
appreciate you and your program and everything.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it.
Yep.